Hello and welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by Drummond Reed, CEO of the Respect Network. We're going to talk about privacy and some of the concepts of how personal protection of information is evolving online. Drummond, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Paul. Thanks for having me.
So to kick off with, could you explain what the Respect Network is?
Yes. So today people are using social networks online. It's revolutionized how we share information, and it's largely public information. So if you're using Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, it's information that you are putting out there on the internet for everyone.
Yeah.
What we don't have is an alternative for how we would share information privately. Great example is, as an individual, as a patient, your medical records are extremely important to you. It might even save your life if you're able to share them, but you're not going to do that on a social network.
Yeah.
You're going to do that, you need something that's much more like a banking network or a credit card network, a level of privacy and security, but again, one that everyone is able to use, people and businesses together, so you could share that information and be assured it's going to stay private. That's what we're building with the Respect Network.
So you're looking at setting up a network of trusted partners, so I can say trust my healthcare network or trust my bank. Is that the sort of thing that we're looking at there?
Exactly. In fact, health and wealth are the two primary areas that this network is originally aimed at. If it's, as I've already mentioned, sharing medical records, perfect example, but also financial records.
Yeah.
That's not something you're going to put on a social network, but it is something that has a lot of value. If you were able to go to a website, click a button and apply for an online mortgage and have all of that complex data that you would need to do that flow in one or two button clicks, it would reduce the amount of friction involved. That's a big win for the businesses that want to serve you that way, and it's of course a tremendous convenience and time savings for you.
Yeah, it seems to me hearing that's a bit of a threat to the social media networks, where it seems to me it's more built around the advertising model there. So if everything's being kept private, that's less information for them to broker and them to give to marketing companies.
Well, fundamentally, to build a global private network like the Respect Network, we have to take an entirely different business model, because there isn't the capability to do advertising or data brokering, because it's all private. It's all shared over trusted peer-to-peer connections.
Yeah.
In fact, it's very important to point out, there is no centralization of the data at all.
Right.
When you're using Facebook or Google, all the data is going to one company that has one set of terms of service, and they monetize it any way they can through advertising or data brokering.
Sure.
With the Respect Network, everything is, we've turned it all upside down. It's privacy by design from the outset, which means you as an individual, you have your own private personal cloud from the provider of your choice, and a business has its own private business cloud. All the connections are called peer-to-peer connections. Just if you want to connect with a particular business, you click the Connect with Respect button, and you can form a private connection between the two, and you're the only two that share that connection.
Right.
So on that kind of a network, you can't have advertising or data brokering, because there isn't any central place to get that information.
Yeah.
So our business model it's member supported. It's the same model as the banking network, the credit card network. Businesses specifically, when they join the network, they'll say, okay, just like we pay a small fee on a credit card network when someone uses a credit card to pay for that network, for that trusted transaction, same thing on the Respect Network, only the business is not paying for a transaction, it's paying for a relationship.
Right.
A business would say, oh, Paul, I'm a bank, if you want to have a trusted private relationship with me and you share information that I could use to serve you, that's got a certain value, and I will pay for that. We call it a relationship fee.
Yeah, so the way I see this working is, so I could have, for instance, a cloud-based personal finance application. There's a button on that says click with Respect, and that would then connect with a trusted banking partner that I nominated.
Exactly.
Right.
So just as developers are building applications for today's networks, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Google, with the Respect Network, same thing. In fact, our largest group, there are over 30 of the founding partners, are building apps and services for the network, and it's specifically to use these trusted private connections. Personal finance apps, an excellent example, personal health apps, mobile apps that you can use to and trust that the data being shared is going on this network. It's all covered by this, what we call the Respect Trust Framework, which is the agreement that every single member of the network, every person, every business agrees to these 5 core principles for the respectful treatment of personal data.
Yeah. Now, how does this tie in with the what we see at the moment with the various companies looking to build these silos, if you like, in the Internet of Things? We're seeing probably the best example is Apple's HealthKit and HomeKit, and the big pushes into automobile applications. How do you see the Respect Network working in that space?
So, one of the biggest issues around the Internet of Things today is that as you're getting devices that are able to be connected, to the internet, to be on the Internet of Things, the manufacturers of those devices are sending that data to their cloud.
Yes.
And in some ways, they don't have any choice today because they know they can make that work. They can secure that connection. But that means all these devices are basically phoning home back to the manufacturer with your data.
Yeah.
You think about quantified self devices like a Fitbit, right?
Sure.
That's your own personal health information flowing back to that manufacturer's cloud.
Yeah.
So one of the primary reasons we're doing the Respect Network, and some of the founding partners are specifically in the Internet of Things business, is because that data should really be going to your cloud.
Yeah.
And in a private, trusted connection, so you have access to that data, and then you can choose to share it with that vendor or with other vendors, but you have the data, you own and control the data. I believe, and I think many of the partners believe, that's the big shift that the Internet of Things is going to go. It's only really going to be take off, the Internet of Things. If the Internet of Things is connected to the Internet of people through personal clouds that they control.
Yeah. So going back a step on this, how did the idea come about?
So I've been working in Internet identity and privacy and security for almost 20 years now, and with many others in the industry. And ironically, for all the work we were doing on the technical protocols and the legal frameworks, about 4 or 5 years ago, what we recognized is the social networks were what everyone was turning to in terms of how data sharing was going on. And the best evidence of that is suddenly you were seeing these buttons out there. They're called social login buttons.
Yep.
We've all seen them out there. Log in with Facebook, log in with Twitter, log in with Google.
That's right.
And they were appearing on websites every place because that was the easiest way. No username or password. You just click the button.
Yep. Low friction.
Low friction. And the challenge is that puts that social network in the middle of every one of those relationships.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating is that the use of those social login buttons is actually now starting to decline.
Right.
Major sites like the New York Times in the US have taken off their login with Facebook button. And the reason is people are now understanding the privacy concerns.
Sure.
Right? And so about 3 years ago, watching the way those social networks have been accelerating, there was a small group of us that had a very, very simple revelation. It was like, wait a minute, if what's now a quarter of all the people on this planet will join these social networks where all the data is centralized, right? And where essentially you have to assume it's all becoming public, then how many people would turn around and join a network where we turned all that upside down?
Yeah.
Where we said, what if the whole network was privacy by design, designed to protect your privacy and let you and the other people and businesses of your choice form trusted private relationships?
Yeah.
We felt that form of a network had every bit as much potential as a Facebook or a Google.
Yes.
And luckily we weren't the only ones. We knew we had the technology layer. We knew we had worked out the legal layer of what was going to be necessary. That was what I was doing just before I started this. And all we needed was a business model. And when it finally became clear, wow, it's actually like the credit card networks. It's businesses agreeing to pay for the value of that relationship. We said, okay, let's make this happen, and we started inviting other companies to do it.
So where do you see the future of privacy, and particularly in an age where we're talking about analytics and big data and so on?
The whole future going forward, and one of the reasons we're holding these launch events around the world is it's one future if you see big companies in charge of how your data is going to be shared. It's an entirely different future if you see you having your own personal cloud on a trusted private network where you control the sharing of that information.
Yes.
I believe that this is as big of a transformative event in the evolution of the internet as the personal computer was, as the smartphone was. So the step now to personal clouds that we own and control, and where all the data sharing is happening over a trusted network, it's a watershed for privacy and personal data rights on the internet.
Yeah. So where would you like to see the Respect Network in 5 years' time?
We would like to see it on the same growth trajectory and curve as the social networks have gone through,
right.
Just as a new form of network. I like to point out to folks that there's actually networks out there, global private networks, that are larger than Facebook.
Yes.
They're called the credit card network and the banking network. And we believe that we can bring that level of privacy and security to data sharing online.
Yeah.
And it's going to unlock an entirely new generation of applications that can deliver value, tremendous value to individuals and tremendous value to businesses. This is the future of where we're going. E-commerce, the internet, as my friend Doc Searles likes to say, is only 18 years old.
Yep.
Right? It's still a teenager. And now we're going to take it up into starting to be a young adult, where people understand privacy really is important.
Yeah.
Trust online really is important, and that's why we're building the Respect Network.
Yeah. Well, taking the internet into adulthood seems to be a great way to wind the interview up. Thank you very much, Drummond.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Pleasure to talk.
You bet.
And thank you for joining Decoding the New Economy.